So my number one tip is probably the most obvious. However, you can never state it enough. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Becky. I'm a wife, mom, realtor, and homestager located in northern Utah. And today I have got 10 quick tips for how you can warm up your gray home. If you are somebody who renovated or designed their home within the last 5 to 9 years, chances are that your home is more on the gray side. And with the trends today, earthy tones, beiges, creams, and tans are totally in. So how can you, using your gray home shell, transform it into the modern, warm, cozy home that you are hoping for today? Here on this channel, we talk about all things home, from DIY to organization and design tips. If that's what you're into, please consider liking and subscribing. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, so my number one tip is probably the most obvious. However, you can never state it enough. As a home stager and as a realtor, I cannot stress the importance of paint. The best possible thing you can do if you want to warm up a gray space is consider changing your whole home interior paint color. If you have questions about what paint color is best, I've got a video linked down below that talks about some mistakes you want to avoid making when choosing the right paint color for your home, and gives a few excellent examples of popular paint colors today, including ones that blend really well with gray. Go ahead and check that out. You can really manipulate the overall color and feel of the home just by slapping some paint on the walls. You can also look into painting furniture pieces, which some people find a little bit daunting. However, it is relatively easy. If you would like videos on how to paint or refinish furniture, let me know down below and I can definitely make a quick tutorial on that. So my number one tip, of course, when you've got a gray home and you want to warm it up a little bit, is consider changing the paint color, or consider painting a few furniture pieces. Tip number 2 is adding in natural wood elements. This would include things such as furniture pieces, decor items, picture frames, etc. You don't want to just have that one random wood thing and just let that be that. I really recommend, if you want to warm up a space, find a few furniture pieces that might be a little bit shiny or metal or dated, and upgrade those to something that has a little bit more of a warm feel. Now, if you've got a home that is a nice gray beige, the great thing for you is you don't have to worry too much about what tones of wood you want to play around with. Right now, dark wood tones are the most popular. However, we're still seeing quite a lot of light wood. It just is leaning more towards the tan side as opposed to towards the gray side. If your home is a lighter gray or a grayish, you don't really have to worry about the undertone. However, if your home is more of a bluish gray or a purplish gray, or even a mid-tone, very abrupt gray, you are going to have to think a little bit more about what tones best are going to fit with that. So for example, if right now you don't want to paint your whole home, which is a big task, and I understand that might not be the best thing for you, I still think that you can warm it up by adding in natural wood tones. You just want to stick with woods that are a little bit more cool toned or medium toned, that will blend really nicely with the gray wall or flooring that you might have. Tip number 3 is to change out your light bulbs. It was really popular a few years ago to use daylight light bulbs, and they put off kind of a bluish hue. Since the whole homes looking like museums thing was really popular for a minute there, people loved that crisp, bright white look. However, now that things are moving towards the warm side, one of the best things you can do is have your lighting be a soft light, which is more of a yellow, warm-toned light. This will allow your space to really soften and be that warm, cozy feeling space. A few different ways that you can incorporate changing out your lighting would be by, of course, switching out the light bulbs. Also, considering switching out light fixtures. For example, If you have things that are very shiny in chrome or bright white, for example, you may want to switch those out for something that has some of those wood tones that we talked about, or that is more of a warm metal or even glass with a soft light bulb. This will do a lot to soften up your space and give it more of that cozy feel. In addition to this, you can use lamp light instead of overhead lighting. So for example, in bedrooms or in the family room or in anywhere that you don't really want that really bright, stark light that comes from the big light, what we call the big light as designers, you can use lamp light in these spaces. That will do a lot to soften and warm up your space overall. Tip number 4 is to put plants everywhere. Use greenery, use flowers, use grasses, use succulents. Put plants in your home. Now, in one of my videos where I talked about trends for 2023, which I'll link that down below, I talked about how I think we're going to see less and less faux plants. However, I don't ever think they're ever going to go away because there's always going to be people who don't have a green thumb. So with that being said, if you do need to use faux plants, I would recommend investing in nice ones that look beautiful and realistic. You can really tell a big difference when a plant is cheap looking and plastic looking versus a plant that is well done. They're going to give off such a more luxurious feel, and they're going to really give that nature vibe, which a lot of people are looking for when they're talking about softening up and warming up their gray home. Tip number 5 is going to be all about layering in different textures and fabrics. So it used to be really popular when we started implementing the all gray everything to have things that were very monotone. So very plain rugs, very plain throw pillows, plain throw blankets, and using the same 2 or 3 colors for everything. If you want to warm up your gray space, one of the best things that you can do is think about implementing different patterns that have nice color combinations that will look great with your gray, but that won't draw the gray out. I hope that makes sense. So for example, when you have a gray, you really want to avoid colors like blue and purple and yellow. Although yellow and gray is a great color combination, if you're trying to minimize the gray, I would really do whatever I could to avoid that color combo. The reason is because the blues or the purples will pull out that tone from the gray. So if you've got a bluish gray next to a blue throw blanket or throw pillow or piece of wall art, that is really going to draw the blue out of that wall paint color. And if the goal is to minimize it, you really don't want your walls looking blue-gray. I promise right now, you really don't want that. In addition to that, when it comes to yellow, yellow and blue are both primary colors. And so when you have a bluish gray or a purplish gray next to a yellow, even if it's a creamy yellow, right? Just like a yellowish white, that yellow undertone is going to make that cream color look so yellow, and it's going to make that blue gray, like bluish, barely bluish gray, look just blue or purple. So I would avoid those colors. Instead, I would think about doing a cream that has a beige undertone, a nice tan, an earthy red, maybe even a terracotta, a salmon, brown even. These are all colors that can be found in nature that do look nice with gray, but that also will create more warmth. In addition to this, playing with patterns such as woven patterns, wool, and texture for texture like this sort of thing. Anything like that to kind of play with the patterns, play with the texture. It's going to create a really cozy feel, and it's going to create a lot of warmth, and it's going to do exactly what you want it to do to combat the gray feeling so gray, but at the same time, it's not going to contrast the gray so much that it doesn't look like it belongs. One warning here is be cautious with shiny fabrics. Although shiny and the glam look is still very popular, when you're trying to warm up a space that's already gray, and if you implement a lot of chrome or shiny white or high glossy finishes, it's going to really cool down the space. So be cautious with your textures that you avoid using anything that is too shiny. A little bit of shine is fine. Like if you want to use a leather that has some shine on it, that's great. But finding something that has silver or even gold woven into it may not do exactly what you want it to do. Tip number 6 is going to be looking at your artwork and deciding if it's worth switching a few pieces out. For example, what was really popular a couple of years ago was the monotone artwork. Again, everything was white, black, gray with maybe like one pop of color. If you've got that ultra minimalist wall art and you're trying to create warmth in your gray space, I would look into reducing some of those pieces. You don't have to get rid of them altogether, just reduce the number and instead add a few that have texture and depth and character. This is going to help your space feel a lot warmer, but additionally, it's going to give your space a little bit more interest as well. Especially if you can find a couple of antique pieces or new pieces that look antique. Those are, of course, very, very popular and they are so easy to find right now. So I would definitely look into doing that. In addition, consider if you've got one particular type of mirror, like those big round mirrors all over your home, maybe just keep like one or two of those and look into using a mirror that has more ornate details or that's a brass finish. Consider just changing a few pieces here and there to give you the overall warmer, more transitional or bohemian or Japandi look that you're going for. Tip number 7, this is going to be the most useful for your flooring. So if you have gray carpeting or if you have gray toned wood floors or vinyl or laminate, this is going to be the biggest thing you can do to transform your space, and that is change out your rugs. Or if you don't have a rug currently, go get a rug. The reason is if you've got really dark gray carpeting, which was all the rage a couple years ago, it's such a huge portion of the room that even if you paint the walls and change the bedding and adjust your furniture, you still may have that gray feel that you don't want. So find a nice grayish rug. That has to just be the base color. Doesn't mean the whole rug needs to be grayish, but if your base of it is grayish where it will tie that gray color in and maybe incorporate a couple of other colors like we talked about that are nice complementary colors for gray but that don't overpower it or contrast it too much, that will bring your space a lot of warmth, a lot more of a design feel, and overall it will greatly reduce the cool tone feeling that the gray is putting in your space. Tip number 8 is leather is back. Leather was rarely seen the last couple of years, and if we did see it, it was kind of that orangey leather, and the normal dark brown leathers are coming back. This is a great way to add warmth to your space. If you don't want to get a leather chair or a leather sofa, you can look into leather throw pillows or even leather ottomans. This is a great way to add warmth, to add a little bit of character, to add a little bit of contrast, but all in all, it will keep your space feeling nice, well designed, textured, and warm. But again, it doesn't have to break the bank to just update that look a little bit. Tip number 9 is something that I touched on a little bit, but I want to talk about a bit more in depth, and that is be smart with your color choices. Think a little bit about the gray tones that you currently have in your home and make sure that the new things that you are purchasing and implementing in your space are the right colors that are going to work with the grays and not fight the grays. Just because you don't want gray to be the focus doesn't mean that you want to battle that gray. All in all, we want our homes to look and feel as cohesive and designed as possible. Am I right? We don't want a home where the walls are fighting the floors, are fighting the sofa, are fighting all of the other things we've got going on. Make sure that as you are adding color and adding warm things, that they match nicely. When things are gray, they don't all need to be gray, but at the same time, they don't need to be the warmest brown possible to add warmth. If you've got a bluish gray, in fact, you really want to avoid doing those ultra dark, warm brown things because they are going to fight that gray so hard. Instead, look into more of a cool tone brown, a medium toned leather, something that has a little bit of texture even. That will help so much to bring warmth without fighting the gray tones. If you don't want to paint your entire home or replace all of the flooring or all of the furniture, this is just a little thing you can do. Watch those color combinations and look at the undertones. If you are having trouble deciding, hey, what undertone is this or that, I would recommend, if you have or know a designer or even a realtor in your area, ask their opinion, have them look at it. And of course, if you want to learn how to do this yourself, leave a comment down below and I can make a video where we talk about warm and cool undertones, and in addition to this, how you can tell what the undertone color is in a particular product. Just make sure you're being careful. Just because you have gray and you want to add warmth doesn't mean you can't play around with color. It just means you have to make sure that you're picking the right color. For example, the room that I'm in right now is still a gray room. While I am in the process of painting my home, I haven't painted this particular room yet. So I still have my gray wall back here. However, I did paint this. This used to be blue with a very dark brown top. I painted this a nice pretty tan color. It matches the gray just fine, although it will match the paint color that's coming much better. Okay, my last tip. This is tip number 10, and it is all about metal. Watch the metal finishes in your home. The cool toned metal finishes are brushed nickel and chrome. These two are particularly cool. In addition to this, if you've got a lot of gray, you may want to avoid white metals and too much glass. These will add a lot of coolness because they don't add any warmth. Glass is see-through, white is plain and shiny, and chrome and brushed nickel are shiny. So these things are going to add more of a cool toned feel. If you'd like to, you can look into replacing some of the metal fixtures in your home with black, brass. If it's the right shade of brass, make sure it's not too yellowish. Make sure it matches the gray. And you can look into oil rubbed bronze or an iron finish, such as these right here behind me. Those are an iron finish. Those types of metals used sparingly and appropriately in your space will actually add a lot of warmth and a lot of depth. So those are my 10 tips for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, if there is content that you would like to see, leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.